Hello everyone and welcome to the Startup Showcase. I'm your host as always, Tristen Mancilla, and today I'm joined by a very special guest. He is Adam Espana, the solo artist and lead guitarist for the post-hard rock band In Search Of, as well as rhythm and backing vocals for Eclipsica. You can find them both on Instagram at Adam Espana, at In Search Of, and at Eclipsica. Pretty much just how he sounds.
Yeah.
How you doing?
Pretty good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Whew. A little tired out just from setting all this up. It's pretty last minute because he's a busy man to get to, ladies and gentlemen. Let me tell you that much. But let's just talk about you and how you got right into it.
Yeah, sure. Is there anything you want to know in particular?
Like, how did you really start with music? What was kind of like your big...
Well, I mean, my dad had always been into rock, metal, whatever you could call it.
Yeah.
And so he got me into that even before I was born. He would play acoustic songs to me when I was like in the womb. And so I was born already listening to Stained, Metallica, Megadeth, all those bands. And so then around one of my 5th birthday, I got like some money just for having a birthday. Yeah. And so then we went into Target and I found a little First Act acoustic, which is like a little quarter-size tiny little guitar. Yeah. And I thought it was awesome because, I see all these, rock stars using awesome guitars. So I was like, oh, I want one. So I picked it up and my parents were like, are you sure you want that? Like, that's all. I was like, all my money. And I was like, yeah. And so then I was like, that's exactly what I'm going to get. So I was like 5 and I just started messing around on there. My dad already knew how to play. So he was teaching me the very basics of, chords and how to play. And then
it just kind of starts from there.
Exactly.
Any professional lessons or anything like that?
No.
It was just all home? No,
I mean, I took one lesson once with a guy in Whittier, and then that was pretty much it. Just kind of, him and I were pretty much at the same level, so I thought, like, why get lessons from me?
From anyone. So
I was like, all right, well, never mind then. So I just went right back to being self-taught. I mean, I do some research on YouTube. I look up Guthrie Govan and Rick Graham and Jackie Vincent, and then pretty much those are the only ones I really take lessons from, just from online. And then I just apply that to whatever I have in front of me and just add it to my songs, scale runs. Yeah. Yeah,
honestly, the power of like just being able to look up stuff now, just being able to teach yourself, it's really amazing. But then also, so then what were some of your main inspirations then that led you to sort of pursuing music as a full career?
The first one would be Kirk Hammett from Metallica, because obviously there's like the biggest band in the world, and so I was just like, wow, I want to be like him. And then I started getting more into like technical things like Symphony X, Dream Theater, and other bands like that. Okay. And when I started hearing those, I kind of started realizing that he wasn't necessarily, it's not that he isn't good, it's that he's not necessarily technical. And what I really wanted to follow was a technicality route versus like just keeping with the same scale over and over again, because he uses a pentatonic scale very often. Yeah. And I just wanted to use like diminished scales and other kind of more technically advanced, not necessarily about like feel, but just kind of getting that skill level down. So that's when I started going into more Sinister Gates from Events to Unfold, and
so you're just sort of like expanding a bit more.
Exactly, yeah. And then John Petrucci, obviously, he's like one of the godfathers of technical guitar players. So all of them, they just kind of brought it together. And then most recently I got really into Angel Vivaldi. He has to be probably my favorite guitar player like ever, and he makes it something that's so technical but it sounds like his guitar is crying or is like angry, and it just has this ability to make you like feel what he's playing all the time. So that's definitely what got me where I am now. Once I started listening to that in like freshman year, and then that was about 6 years ago? Yeah, about 6 years ago is when I started listening to him. Wow. And then that jump started my
entire career.
Exactly,
and so then how did you like jump from there into like your first band?
Well, my first band was with my dad and brother. So
the family band.
Exactly, the family
that's
band.
Great.
So my dad plays bass. He plays guitar, but he plays bass really well. Okay. So he played bass, I played guitar, and my brother was trying to learn how to play drums for a senior project at the time. Yeah. So he was learning how to play drums. I already knew how to play guitar, and my dad was playing bass. So we just kind of started messing around there. But as funny as it sounds, that did help me kind of figure out how to play with other people, because it's a lot different than playing by yourself. Because if you have an idea and they don't agree with it, you have to kind of compromise. You can't just like only be on yourself. That's why actually I have my solo stuff. Yeah. The stuff that it's
just you.
Exactly. So in my other bands, they don't have a say in it. Like that's purely what I want. Like if they don't like it, I'm like, well, that sucks. It's not your song. Yeah, exactly. So that was the hard part, was really getting used to working with others, because I have a very I'm not stubborn per se, but I am. Like I have a very strong vision of what I'm.
Yeah. Well, it makes sense, like that you feel it, like especially like as artists, you know, like you have a strong idea of just like what you want to see. You see it in your head, you hear it, but then it's just like when other people aren't getting it, it just can be really frustrating trying to fight with them and stuff.
Yeah. And then like there's different patterns, like especially with drums with my friend, with my brother, not brother, dumbass, but like my lifelong friend pretty much now, Locke. Whenever he's playing drums, like what he likes to do is he likes to do like a very like punk thrashy beat where it's like snare on the 2, hi-hat on the 1.
Okay.
And so that sounds fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But my favorite is when it's a snare on the 1 because I feel like it brings a lot more power. And so sometimes we'll be playing a song and he wants to do the snare on the 2, but I want it on the 1.
Yeah.
And so we have to choose. So, I mean, obviously it's going to go one way or the other.
Yeah.
So we always have like compromise where we're like, all right, you get this one, you get that one. So then we just kind of hand it off to each other and see what the whole song, the whole band feels.
All right,
as a
and
whole.
see which one's better. Okay,
exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's really good though. That's and definitely like something really interesting. Like having to, I don't think anyone really like talks about that. Just like just besides the fact that like someone dominates a band.
Yeah.
But, like it's really important that you know there's a lot of cooperation going on.
Definitely, yeah.
Otherwise, it like falls apart.
Exactly, that's always happens. Yeah.
But so then I think something that's really interesting that you told me is that you're a solo artist and you also play for multiple bands.
Yeah.
So like, can you talk a little bit about like how hard it is to juggle sometimes?
Well, so pretty much I write thousands of riffs every day pretty much. Like whenever I'm practicing, my practice routine now just pretty much includes me just being creative.
Yeah.
I've gotten most of the techniques pretty much down. I mean, obviously there's always a million that I'm not even going to ever know of, but the ones that I like best, I've gotten most of them down. So my practice routine now is pretty much about making more melodies and making more complicated and more like interesting ideas. So when I have 15 riffs a day, I'll send them out to each of my bands pretty much and tell them what do you guys want to work with, and whatever pretty much like the ones that they don't like, I like all of them. So whatever they don't like, I'll put into my solo thing. So that's how I know which goes where. And plus the two bands, even though they're in the same genre, they sound very different. So with In Search Of, they're a lot more technical because I write pretty much all the songs.
Okay.
In terms of the music, obviously they write lyrics and their own parts, but for the melodies and such, I usually write a lot of it. And so what happens is it ends up being a lot of, it sounds similar to my solo stuff, but with influence of them. So like instead of just being technical the whole time, it'll be technical in the beginning and then it'll be groovy because our rhythm guitarist is a very like 70s and 80s metal guitarist. So it's a lot of like pentatonic and like bluesy driven. So that's what we'll have in like the verses or so. And then because our old bassist was more in like the modern emo style, like the chorus would be very big and, you know, anthemy. So then that's what we'd have. And then right back to the verse would be technical again from my side. So it just kind of moves around.
Okay.
Whereas in Eclipsica, they're a lot more like radio rock. So they sound more like Breaking Benjamin or Seether kind of thing where it's a lot of open chords with riffs thrown in. Whereas in my other band, it's all riff the whole time. And then in my stuff, it's all riff, all solo, all insane things going around the whole time kind of thing. So that's how that's how I separate the music. The timing's difficult to separate because I'm always at home, so I'm always writing my own stuff. So it's hard to kind of branch out into my bands because I want to take time to work on
do your
my
own things.
exactly but then I'm doing practices, double practices today, you know, practices all the time.
Glad we caught you right before.
Yeah, I know, serious.
Just like in that little half hour window.
Yeah, exactly.
But then like bouncing off of that, like I'm curious, where do you draw the line from being a solo artist to sort of just being like a member of a band?
That's a good question. I guess the line is where.
Do you think like just at events and just like, oh, I'm part of this band, you know, but like, or do you want them always to see you as like, I'm Adam Espana, you know, like I'm always.
I see that. I guess when I play my solo stuff, it's definitely, you know, me centric, I guess. Yeah. But then once I'm in a band, I make sure that it's very moving. So I don't like to see like in one of my favorite bands, Gojira. I saw them live, and I loved them live. They sounded incredible, but it felt like the lead singer, and he's also the rhythm, or I guess he's kind of lead guitar. It looked like he was kind of taking over the whole time, and I didn't like that view. I like seeing when
it's all kind of shared.
Yeah, so like with Devin Townsend, it's another great singer guitarist. Whenever he's playing a solo or he's singing, he's up front and he's taking the spotlight. But then the second there's a break instrumentally, he'll step back with the drummer or go up on a riser so that the other members get their share of the spotlight.
Yeah.
So that's what I like to do. So for me, whenever I'm in search of as lead guitar, I'm generally doing leads over verses and choruses and then solos.
Okay.
So when I'm doing leads, I usually sit back with the rhythms because I'm pretty much adding to the song without actually being the spotlight. And then once it's solo time, though, usually the singer will step back, I'll step up so that it's on me for a minute, and then the second that's over, I go right back and the singer's right back up front kind of thing. So he's taking over there. Then Eclipsica, we actually haven't played live with them. They've only played 2 shows.
Okay.
But we're going to be setting up a couple shows for this year. But with them...
You got a tour coming on or what?
Can't say too much about that yet. But there are going to be 2 shows this year. Hopefully a tour in the coming year in 2020.
Okay.
But and probably not in the U.S.
Okay.
But so when I'm over there, it's very centered on the lead singer. His name is Danny, and then the lead guitarist named Vic, and they're honestly like awesome guys. So I would honestly love to keep them in the spotlight as much as possible. Because as much as I love playing guitar and I think that I'm a good guitarist, I still understand when there are other musicians that are very good as well, you know? And so when I see Vic playing, it's incredible. I love the way he plays. So I think his playing fits their music a lot more than mine does. I mean, I love playing the music. I think it's great. Yeah. But I think his writing style really meshes with theirs a lot better than mine. So that's why I like to let him have as much of the spotlight as possible, so that I pretty much just stay with the bassist and the drummer and just hold down as much as I can, being rhythm, and then just do my harmonies for vocals and then call it kind of thing. Yeah,
that's definitely good though. Like, definitely it's important, like, you know, being humble, being able to share the spotlight is better than, you know, like, I don't know, when someone just taking the spotlight, you don't need that. No. I think also too, like, what I was going off on the top of my head when I was talking about like where you place yourself as a solo artist compared to being like a band member, I was just off the top of my head, I was thinking like Paul McCartney or anything like that. Like, do you think you want to focus more on your solo career, or are you looking for just kind of like a band to really like stick on and hope it grows all the way?
Well, I've always seen myself as a band member. Like when I was a kid, I always thought I want to be in a band. Like I never really wanted to be a solo artist. Like I loved Mr. Big and I love Paul Gilbert alone, but Mr. Big was my favorite over Paul Gilbert kind of thing, you know? So I always had a what's the word, like a favor,
just being in a band.
Just being in a band, yeah. I've always wanted to be a part of a whole group of guys that are all together making music, instead of me making music and hiring guys to play that music. So it's always been a dream to have people that I really get along with well and just all get together and do it forever kind of thing. You know, that's what I've always wanted, and I'm hoping that's why. I mean, I was gonna be in like 4 or 5 bands. But then I just thought, I was like, never mind, I don't want to do this. I only wanted to do bands that I actually really loved the music. I was in a couple, and there's nothing wrong with those other bands that I was in. Yeah. But it just wasn't what I like to write. I would love to listen to it. And I had told the band that I had left, they're called Bored and Demise. They're awesome. And it was great to listen to. I love seeing them live. They were great. But when I was playing with them, I actually played bass with them. And I was just... It's not that they, like I said, it's not that their music wasn't fun. That's not exactly what my style is, and so that's why I had to, you know, let them know I was dipping out. And then I went to Eclipsica right away.
They were cool, though, right?
Yeah, no, they were great. Yeah, no, they're awesome.
Like I don't imagine. Is it like difficult when you're transferring from like one band to another?
Yeah. Because you learn.
They don't want to let you leave.
Well, yeah, that's you. Like, because you know it's hard to find, especially a bassist. Yeah. No one wants to be a bassist. Like, straight up, everyone wants to be a guitarist or a singer.
It's always like, you know, I always hear it talked about too. Like, just like no one wants to be it, but it's also like one of the most important.
The bassist is like the most important, honestly. Yeah, the bass and drums are. If without those, you don't even have.
I'm all about drums. Dude,
oh yeah, honestly. Definitely. Yeah, I mean it's been growing recently. Like the appreciation for drums, which I'm very thankful for, because they don't get
they're like
enough credit.
They're the foundation
of everything. Yeah. So once you have drums, like even when you record, for me anyway, there's a whole bunch of ways to record. But when I record drums first, hopefully with bass together. But if not, then the bass records after, and then I mix those two without doing anything else. Like I'll record drums and bass, record all of it, and then mix it as well as I can to when those sound like it's a full band. Then I'll add guitars to make it a little bit fuller, and then vocals in there.
Yeah, vocals usually last, right?
Exactly, yeah. I put them in there, but I don't mix guitars until I mix vocals with them, because otherwise you're kind of fitting in vocals into the thing, where you want to have it vocals with the guitars fitting in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think I get what you're saying.
Yeah. Otherwise, you're trying to fit the vocals and they end up being thin and they're not like there's not center. And where you want the vocals usually pretty center, depending on the band, obviously.
Yeah, no, of course. And then, are there any big things coming up though for either of your bands that you can talk about? That you can talk about?
Yeah. With In Search Of, we actually just parted with our bassist and our singer, which are two pretty core members, obviously.
Yeah.
And so we had been on the search for a singer and bassist. We're still on the search for a bassist, but we just got a singer, and he just moved here from Michigan. He moved like 3 months ago, so he's been looking for a band to join. And he's heavily influenced from Devin Townsend, Avenged Sevenfold, and he said another one. I don't remember the other one. I think Tool. And so those three bands are like his favorite bands.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of actually what his voice sounds like. Yeah, so we were really excited because he hits these really high notes, but like when he goes high, his voice kind of breaks up, so it sounds like a rasp coming through. So it's generally like a really clean sound, and then when he hits a note, he hits it really hard with a really hard rasp, and it sounds like he's like yelling almost, and it's honestly really nice. We've only recorded 3 songs, a couple parts with him so far, because he only joined maybe like a week and a half ago.
Okay.
But he's been getting to work. He has almost entire songs for the entire album. We are going to start recording again in September in In Search Of, and we should be having a release either late December or early January for our first actual album together.
Okay.
And then in Eclipsica, their EP came out in 2017, and then we're having new songs that are coming out in September of this year.
Okay.
And then hopefully there's going to be a broad tour coming around the springtime of 2020.
Have you ever toured before?
I've done West Coast tours, meaning you play a couple shows every couple days.
Oh, and a couple like
exactly in a couple areas and like on the western side of the U.S. But I mean, or in really just California, but never an actual set tour date kind of thing where you're in a van for 3 months. You know, yeah. So I'm excited and scared definitely, but. I'm really excited.
That's definitely where the stuff starts happening. Though,
exactly.
I don't imagine it's like going to be really nice, like sleeping on a van all the way.
Every 2 weeks, you get a motel room so that everyone can shower, and then they bring a lot of wet wipes is what we're hoping.
Just a couple bags. Go to Costco, some Kleenex, everyone wipe off. Honestly, just Axe body spray as soon as you guys walk out. Oh, that's really funny. But what kind of shows do you guys play though? Has it been just like actual like big kind of like stage shows with like a large audience?
Yeah, we've really only played venue shows. I've only played a backyard 2 or 3 times, and that was with the band that was at Cal High. They were called Alone Together. I don't know if you've heard of them.
No, I haven't.
Okay, but they're really cool. They were really active in like our town, I guess, and so we played. They did like a fundraiser for cross country.
Oh, okay.
So they always did it in their backyard with a big stage setup. It was in a backyard.
Yeah, it was still set up.
It was well done though.
Yeah,
it was really cool. So that was the only time we actually played backyards, except for like one birthday party. But other than that, we've only played venue shows at like the Whiskey, House of Blues, Chain Reaction, like nicer places where you get the whole sound guy, you get the PA, you get everything's mic'd up. If you want backing tracks, you can have them, kind of thing. And that was all really enhances your sound. Otherwise, if it was just 2 cabs, a bass amp, and drums, everything gets lost. Usually the kick gets lost with the bass. Everything gets thrown around, and you don't really get that full sound that we always want to bring. So that's why we like to keep it to bigger venues, because that gives us the ability to actually have a good sound for everybody to hopefully enjoy.
Yeah, okay, so we're probably just going to have to wrap it up here. He's really brief. He's got to go. You know, he's a busy man, ladies and gentlemen. But, you know, everyone, this was Adam Espana from In Search Of and Eclipsica. You can find his stuff at Adam Espana on Instagram, Twitter, anything else? Facebook? Yeah. Okay, yeah, there's Facebook too.
I have a great meme page.
We can't wait to check that out. And then also at In Search Of Official and at Eclipsica, they have stuff coming out on December, you said, all right? Late December, early January for In Search Of, and September for Eclipsica. So really excited for that. Can't wait to check it out. If you like this episode, follow us at startup.ent on Instagram and Twitter for at startup_entert. Honestly, don't question it, man. It's Twitter usernames, man. I'm always gonna be angry about it. But honestly, thank you guys for listening. Hope you enjoyed. Leave a 5-star review or subscribe to YouTube if you're listening on there. And we hope to see you guys on the next one.